because you don't want to get in there and tell about a weakness that you have. What you do is try to spin that and talk about a challenge that you may have had. And this is what the challenge was. These are the steps that I took to correct that and overcome that challenge. And here's what I'm doing now.
Want to achieve your dream goal? Listen to the tips from the guy who made it happen to himself. I dropped 70 pounds going from a 4X to a 1X in 4 years. I went from 10K to 6 figures without a college degree. You too can get the goals you set. It's time to live your best life now. I'm your host, Tony Woodall, and welcome to Goal Getting Podcast. Hello, goal getters. This is Tony Woodall, your host for Goal Getting Podcast. I really want to thank you for stopping by today and coming to listen to our show. Goal Getting Podcast is a podcast out there in a sea full of podcasts. You had a choice to listen to many of those, and you chose ours. So I do thank you very, very much for listening to us. It really does mean a lot to me to have you visit our show and listen to what we have to say. Today, we have a fantastic guest. I had mentioned last week on the show that I intended to have Nickquolette Barrett on the show and had some technical difficulties. Well, Nickquolette and I met again and had a great interview to share some phenomenal tips, strategies, and inspiration for you here at the end of the year to talk about the one thing that we all want to think about if we need to, how to get the jobs or careers that we want, how to, think about career development strategies and how to write a proper resume and things like that. And you really need to find someone who can help guide you in a lot of these areas. It's a very tricky and tough situation to be able to go out there and hunt for work and hunt for a job or grow your careers. I hate looking for work. I hate looking for a job. I was so blessed for many years never to have to do that. And then the times where I had some downtimes and had to find a new career or find a job, it was very tough. And, having somebody that you can go to help you with some ideas and things and strategies to, better your career is very important. I wish I'd have had somebody like Nickquolette when I was growing up and trying to figure out what career I wanted. She's really great now. I met Nickquolette at Podcast Movement in July of 2015 in beautiful beautiful Fort Worth, Texas, not San Antonio, but Fort Worth, Texas. Met her, and it was just a great meeting. We sat next to one another and just kind of hit it off, and got to know what she did, and I thought I need to have her on my show. So we have her today. Now, Nickquolette is a career development strategist and the owner of iRock Resumes, the Academy of Professional Development. Nickquolette specializes in helping others land the job of their dreams when they think they can't or don't have what it takes. Now, she started this company out of a love and a passion for helping others succeed in their quest to have a fulfilling career. She knows that it takes more than just going out there to find a job, and thus has created the ultimate career development strategy plan to enhance all levels of job seekers and help them search for that perfect job and career. She is literally one of the best in the field of career development with hundreds of happy and successful clients to her credit. Now, Nickquolette didn't just dream this up. She's been in corporate America for over 24 years with over 14 years in leadership positions. And she knows firsthand what it takes to navigate, the career maze and also to win. Now, she's been writing and revising and revamping resumes, cover letters, professional bios, and employee career profiles, in addition to interviewing and conducting interview preps and career coaching and development strategies for over 18 years. She's even conducted seminars and workshops regarding the same. Now, she has the proven experience and expertise needed to turn anyone's skills and abilities into their best career strategy yet, no matter what career stage you're in. So, I want you to listen to Nickquolette today, listen to the great tips, the great suggestions, the great strategies that she's presenting on the show today. I think, as we get into the new year, if you're looking for a new career, if you're looking to expand your career, either inside or outside the company that you're in, Nickquolette's got some great ideas and some great tips. She's been there. She's done that. She's helped friends, family, people that she's worked with to grow and to, improve their careers. And that's one of the things that you have to do. And, as you've heard me say before, I recently changed my career from one that I'd had for 25 or more years. And I realized I needed to find a new passion, or I had a new passion. I needed to find a new career to match that passion. And in doing so, I had to go through the steps of, studying and looking for jobs. And, I got lucky. I happened to find the career that I was looking for in the same company and that I was in, and it just worked out perfectly. But if you don't have that opportunity, you have to do the searching, you have to do the looking, and having somebody to help you do that and to guide you is also a good thing. So I wanted to bring on Nickquolette so you can listen to her, talk to her if you need to get in touch with her. We have information on our show notes page. The show notes page for today's episode is goalgettingpodcast.com/iRock, iRock, and that's for Nickquolette's company, iRock Resumes. And she does rock. I've listened to and seen her testimonials from her clients, and she rocks from what they tell me. So listen tonight and listen today and have a great show. If you want to get in touch with Nickquolette, you can reach her directly at the links on the show notes page, or you can contact me on the comment section of the page and leave a comment for her if I see it, which I will. I will, get in touch with her and have her get in contact with you on the show notes page. So let us know what you think of her and the show on our show notes page. It's goalgettingpodcast.com/iRock, iRock. And Nickquolette rocks. So let's go listen to Nickquolette real quick and enjoy the show. Good morning, goal getters. We have with us today Nickquolette Barrett from iRock Resumes. I want to talk about Nickquolette just a moment. We met at Podcast Movement 15 in beautiful Fort Worth, Texas last year, earlier this year, and I sat next to Nickquolette, and we just kind of hit it off and kind of been keeping in touch. And I just wanted to have her on the show because she has some great tips that will help you if you're looking to advance your career or to start a career. She offers some great services, and we'll talk about those in a moment. Nickquolette is a wonderful lady. So, Nickquolette, how are you today?
Hi, Tony. I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
I appreciate your time today, and I appreciate you coming to share this wealth of information that you have about careers and career development. And we're going to get into some real meat today, I think. And, you offer a lot of different services that can really help people. And, as we get into the year, regardless whether it's the beginning of the year or the middle of the year, people are out looking for work. They're out looking to advance their careers, to become, better at what they do. And you offer services that can help all of that. So I wanted to have you on the show. And if you wouldn't mind, come out and tell us a little bit about yourself and, who you are and what you do.
Oh, sure. Well, thanks again, Tony. I am Nickquolette Barrett. I am, first of all, a wife to my wonderful husband. He's a senior pastor of a church here in Texas. And I am also a mother of a 16-year-old teenage daughter. So you parents out there who have teenagers, those who are just beginning to drive, you kind of understand my undertone in that.
Absolutely. I've been there, done that. So
yes, indeed. I have been in corporate America for almost 25 years. And in my corporate roles, I've done a lot of different things that I absolutely love, which is always that developing my direct reports and creating wonderful careers within the corporate space, whether they're there staying with the company or something else that they want to actually advance out of. And I've been in leadership for almost 15 years out of my time in corporate America. And I have really excelled through my career. And a lot of the things that I have taught my direct reports are the things that I utilize in my own career. So I'm so excited to be able to share those things. And as far as iRock Resumes, it's just a blessing to be able to start that company. And I have to tell you, Tony, it was such a funny story on how it even got started. Is because the company that I'm working for was going through a major transition. And so therefore, part of our roles, we have to develop our people to take on new opportunities. It was great in transition because a lot of new jobs were being created and a lot of people were having promotional opportunities. Mm-hmm. So in the interim, I'm developing my people, making sure their internal resumes were written correctly. Their what we call requests for considerations which is like a cover letter, were written very well, doing all the interview prep, and been doing it for down through the years across the enterprise, which spans anywhere from Michigan all the way down to Atlanta, all the way across to California or what have you. And so I did it for my own team, and I was able to get within a 6-month period, all of my 9 people on my team promoted. And they were getting promotions anywhere from $5,000 to $14,000 in their actual roles. And 2 of my employees who actually got the $14,000 increase, they said, well, you know what, you need to do this as a business. I said, well, I never really thought about it. It's something that I've always done. And just, I just help people. Mm-hmm. They said, no, you really need to do this. And so because of their encouragement, I said, well, let me just go ahead and put a blurb out. So I put a blurb out on Facebook. And at that time, I'd gotten 5 people promoted. So I put a blurb out, said, this is what happened, and this is what I did. So I started getting inquiries. And then within the next month or so, the rest of my team got promoted. So I said, oh, here's an update. My whole team is gone. So they had to give me a whole new team. and so that's when the business was birthed. And it just took off from there. And I've been loving to doing this stuff forever. And just never really thought about doing it as a business, but I have been able to bless more people outside of, the corporate America that I'm working at, but other people who need my services. So I'm really excited about that. And one of the things I do in my spare time, Tony, I love to scrapbook. So yes, I'm a big kid with photos and cardstock and glue and markers. So that's some of the things I do on my downtime.
No, that's good. That's, doing the physical memories are very important. And, I love memories and experiences, and to be able to do that. And I failed to do a lot of that when I was younger, and I kind of regret that because I don't have photos of a lot of the experiences that I have. Luckily, I do still have the memories, even with our children. I have times that I said, I wish I'd have taken pictures of my kids at that point. And I never did. So that's great. That's I think a great thing to do. And it just carries that legacy of what you've done in your life that you can share with other people and things. So that's excellent. Good idea.
Yes, sir.
Good thing. Yeah. Well, excellent. Well, that's amazing. And a lot of people get careers or, businesses by accident like that. And that's very exciting when you can do that and find something that you're passionate about, something that you really enjoy and that you're good at, and make it a career or make it where you can make some extra money if you need to. So that's excellent. But you've offer great services. And I think, as a manager or former manager, I used to manage a lot of people in teams, and I've built teams. And, I've been through times where we had to have transitions, as you call them, and get people transition into other roles or transition. And even in my own teams, I always tried to mentor them to get better jobs and, better careers and things like that. So that's exciting to be able to do that and help.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of your services and, some of the tips, because it is about, helping people achieve their goals and set goals. And goals are very important in a career. And a lot of times we just go about it the wrong way. We just don't make the right strategies for career. And I know that's one of the services that you provide is career development strategies.
Yes.
And strategy, people go, well, why do I need a strategy? I just need a job. Why do I need strategy?
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit about your career strategy process and, some of the things that people need to think about with career strategy.
And you're so right, Tony, because people just are so focused on the actual job. They don't think about, okay, well, what are you going to do when you get there? So you have to be strategic in actually creating a career that you actually love. It's not just about, okay, I'm just going to get this job and sit here and become an office fixture. I want to make sure that I'm advancing. And one of the things that I love about what I do, I take people from inception, meaning making sure that their resume speaks to their capabilities, their abilities, and their skills in an elevated manner to really showcase what they have to offer an actual company. And I call it the resume being well written and expertly written, more of like a shot of confidence in the arm. Because when people see themselves on paper, they are like, wow, is that truly me? I'm like, yes, based on my initial consultation, interviewing you and getting the information, plus the information that you submitted to me, this is who you really are. So that's the first thing, getting that resume written very, very well, having it elevated, showcasing all of your skills and abilities and not a task driven resume. And just saying that, okay, I do this, I do that. But you really want to have a resume that's more results driven. Mm-hmm. Because I did this was the result of that. Because people really want to say, well, what can you do for me? I mean, not just a task, but what result have you gotten from your actual work product? So resume writing has changed down over the years to be more results oriented. Right. So that's the first thing. You have to make sure you have that. So that's part of your strategy. Then what I do is take the people through not only having an expert resume written where they actually land the interview. I then next take them through the interview process and prepping them because, okay, now you have the interview. So what are you going to say? And also, what are you going to wear? Because, my gosh, Tony, I have interviewed some people with their attire is just not appropriate for an actual job because although a lot of people get that confused with business casual, you don't necessarily come to an interview business casual. Wait till you get into the company. You don't come business casual to the actual interview. So after they land the interview, I prep them on the best tips on what they should do in an actual interview. And when I say tips, Tony, I mean your opening. What are you going to say when they ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself? So what are you going to say to that? So I want to make sure that you're saying stuff, not just the fact that, you're married and, you like to jog, but what other things? Throw in some of those key competencies in there and tie them into your whole life and then say, this is who I am as a person, well-rounded. Then we talk about how to answer those tough interview questions. And now that you're not sitting there and saying, just one yesterday, I had a discussion with a person who was shocked to know that interviewing has changed so much where she sat in front of 8 people. It was an 8-panel interview.
Oh, that's good.
And and she was like, oh my gosh, interview, because she hadn't been in the workforce in a while. She was shocked that there was 8 people on there and the questions that they were asking. She said, I need help on interviewing because I've never been interviewed like that before. I said, yeah, it's all about situational. She said, exactly. They kept asking me about situations and I couldn't think of anything. I said, trust me, you have them. You just don't know you have them.
Right. And,
so you haven't. And exactly. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tony.
No, I was going to say, you're just touching on a lot of the things that I had as questions I wanted to bring up that are very important. Having been a manager and interviewing and going through that, people don't realize the panel interviews are out there. We used to do that all the time, anywhere from 2 to 5 people interviewing somebody at one time, or even I've done as many as 7 interviews myself in one day, just from one person through the next 8 hours of interviewing.
Yes.
What's is there a way to prepare yourself for that type of an interview? Just to, some quick tips about that. You just brought that up, and again, most people don't realize that's out there, that people are doing that these days.
One of the great tips I would definitely say is making sure that you make eye contact with the whole room. Mm-hmm. You don't want to focus on one person and only talk to that one person. You want to transition your eye contact from one person to another in the midst of actually answering a question. So you're looking at one person when you begin an answer, then you go to the middle of your answer, you look at another person, and then when you're ending it, you look at the next person. And guess what I always tell my clients as well, Tony?
What's that?
Smile and nod.
Absolutely.
You know why? Because when they're smiling and nodding as they're answering the questions, guess what the panel does? They smile and nod right along with you.
Yep.
What you're doing is bringing them into your world while you're answering that question. And that is very, very important. And you can't be intimidated because it's really a conversation. You're really having a conversation about what you're bringing to the table. And if you look at it from that perspective, conversing with a group, in front of a group of people that, you want to showcase what you have to do, have it as a conversation, smiling and nodding, because when you smile and you nod, it reduces your stress while you're in the interview.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so your blood pressure lowers, because smiling and being happy is one thing that's always going to, make your blood pressure go down. So it helps. And then again, it engages the actual interview panel.
Yep, excellent, great. Yeah, because you have to appear happy and that you're enjoying your life and you're enjoying the interview, and that again transitions them. If they see you smiling, like you said, they start smiling, and
Yes.
it makes everybody a happier person during the interview.
Exactly. And another tip I just thought about too, if women, if you're wearing jewelry like bracelets and you talk with your hands, be careful of that jewelry, because if you're talking, it's making a lot of noise and it will distract from what you're saying, because they're hearing clanking on the table, or they're watching your jewelry fly around. When you're going to an interview, be as simple as you possibly can. Let your words speak for you and not your attire being overly stated, overly big jewelry, overly done hairdo, or heavily done makeup, or even attire that's ill-fitting or what have you. And I don't just want to speak to women. Of course, I'm a woman, so I'm going to go there first. For gentlemen, making sure that you do have that suit coat on with your shirt and your tie. And again, these things are not something that you have to invest a lot of money in, Tony. I tell people, go to the Goodwill, go to your local thrift store, your consignment store, and you can get those pieces for little or nothing. So when you go into an interview, you're presenting your best self forward in that whole, thing. You don't want to just look like, oh, I'm just here just because, and I really don't care. So for the gentlemen, make sure that your shirts are ironed properly. You have on a tie, you're clean shaven, you're clean cut. If you wear earrings, you probably want to take those out for that moment. Again, you don't want them focusing and having assumptions or making judgments. You want them to judge what you have to say. You don't want them to judge you on anything else. Make sure that you're presenting your best foot forward, because it's only that one moment. After you leave there, do what you want to do.
Right.
But for that one moment, take it very seriously, because we're reading between the lines. We're not just looking at you for that role. We're looking for succession planning. What else can you do? Can you go into leadership? Can you go into another role? Especially in the baby boomers are retiring like crazy, Tony.
Yes.
So people are looking beyond that. So people, make sure that you're really doing your best, looking your best, and presenting your best self for that 1 hour of your life that can make a difference in your life.
And I would agree with that. In a lot of companies, and our companies that way, we not only interview for the position, but for the, potential for growth and things like that. But also, we have a very unique corporate culture at the company that I work for. And corporate cultures are very big right now. People in companies are, they're designing their company based on a culture. And we look for people to fit into our culture more so than necessarily the technical skills in a lot of cases. Obviously, they have to know what they're doing. But if they don't fit into our culture, I think, that's just something you need to know. What is the culture?
Yes, do a lot of research. You're right about that.
Now, you mentioned the situational interviews. People, when your clients was talking about how they were asking about situations and things. And again, my experience is we do a lot of behavioral and situational interviews. What are some of the tips that you can offer for people to get prepared for that? Because especially if you don't know it's coming and you haven't done interviews like that, what are some tips that you have for people to be able to understand how to do that?
Well, one of the things I tell people to do is think of examples in your work where you have gotten great results. And then you look at that and say, okay, this was a situation. I'm going to give you an example. There's an employee who was not doing very well in their role. That was a situation. The situation, not doing very well in role, bringing down the team results. Okay, here's what I did with that employee. I was able to pull that employee out, pull out examples of their work, walk through every piece of the work to show them tips on how to enhance that work product to become more efficient, and then be able to process the work so that it adds to the team results and not decrease the team results. And eventually, after that coaching and pulling out specific examples and doing some retraining for that person, and within 6 weeks, they were performing at an above level, as above expectations, and enhancing the actual results. So that's an example of something that you can think of that you have done in your role, even if it's for your own self. I was to say, for example, I was struggling in this area. So what I did, I took the initiative to research out what I can do better. I got with someone who was very efficient and job shadowed them in order to learn their processes, and then took those processes and then incorporated into my own work behavior. And I was able to enhance my results and meet expectations and exceed expectations. Excellent. So you think about those examples that you do every single day.
Excellent. Though, yeah, that's exactly right. And keep track of that too. As you build your career, I think, one recommendation that I think last time you and I were just chatting, you mentioned keep track of what you do in your job that is successful so that you can keep that, because you forget about those kind of things. I know I have the problem when I, at the end of the New Year's or for the annual review and things, trying to remember, what did I do this year?
Yes.
Positive or negative. I remember the negative ones, but what were the successes that I had?
Exactly.
So keeping track of those is important, I think.
Yeah, and you can keep that in a Word document. And I remember when I was coaching my employees about that very same thing, one of the young ladies came in with a 3-ring notebook, tabbed and everything about everything that she done. She said, well, this is what you told us to do. I said, yes. And the good thing was, because I was such an engaged leader, I knew her, value to the role that she was bringing into the team. So I was like, okay, here's your rating. And you did get the highest rating because I was very well. But I love the fact that you came prepared to have that dialogue, because again, we jump into career development strategy. That's a strategy that everybody needs to have, because even when I'm interviewing people to enhance their resumes, they like, oh my gosh, I forgot I did that. Oh my gosh, I did do that. Yeah, now I'm talking about these things based on the questions that you're asking me, Nickquolette. All this stuff is coming back to my memory. But you need to journal those things, jot them down in a spreadsheet, put them on in your phone on your notes if you have an iPhone or whatever Android app that you utilize, or just a regular old pencil and paper. Just write it down. And so when it's time for that discussion for your performance, you have those specific examples, and then they do nothing but build upon year, and year. And then you can go back and say, okay, these are the things I've done for my whole career. This is why I'm qualified for that next role. Exactly. And I think that's one of the best pieces of advice I heard you offer and talk about when we were, just chatting, that is critical to people. My memory is just not that that good, so that I can remember those things throughout an entire year for reviews, because you need them not just for your resume, but also for reviews, I think. And, if you don't even remember it for that year, how are you going to remember it when you go from job to job? You've got to have it written down somewhere, I think. So, And then you don't want to be disappointed when your performance review and percentage raise is not what you expected. But I did a lot, but did you articulate that?
Exactly.
So please keep track of that.
Right. So excellent. Those are some great tips. Now, are there any tricky interview questions? A lot of people tell, well, they asked me this trick question, or, I didn't understand. Are there any tips on, answering tricky questions, or are there any tricky questions that you're aware of that people should know about? No, you know what? I don't think any interview question is a trick question, because if you're properly prepared, you're going to be able to answer those. Right. So you just have to make sure that you're listening. And you know what? I guess one of the things I can say, people don't know how to answer the question of, what are your strengths and your weaknesses? Oh, absolutely, yes. And I tell people, well, that is a tricky question, because you don't want to get in there and tell about a weakness that you have. What you do is try to spin that and talk about a challenge that you may have had. And this is what the challenge was. These are the steps that I took to correct that and overcome that challenge. And here's what I'm doing now. That's what you want to do. You want to show them the thought process of what the issue was before. What did you do to alleviate the situation? And then this is the result of it. So you think of it as more of a challenge, never a weakness. You want to focus on your strengths throughout the conversation and not on your weaknesses. So now, if that was a tricky question, that would be my number one tricky question. Right, but if you're prepared for it, you will know how to answer that. Right. And I think that's a good point, because a lot of people, when they hear that, what are your top three weaknesses or your worst weakness or whatever, we panic because we think,
Yeah.
I don't want to tell you I'm weak or I've got a problem. Well, don't tell them how you had an issue that you resolved, because that's really what they're looking for, I think. I know for me as a manager, when I did it, asked that exact same question. I was looking at what did you do? What did you have a problem with that you don't feel you did well, that you somehow worked through it? Because I want to know that you can do that.
And another thing that I tell people too, I say, you can also catch them off guard and say, well, my weakness is chocolate, but here's a challenge that I've overcome. And see how you just laughed like that, Tony?
Yeah.
People are like, oh yeah. Again, you're showing them your personality. You're showing them that you can work with people. You're showing that you can engage. And that's what you're wanting to do. I said, well, outside of chocolate, this is something I've had a challenge with. And then people are laughing. They say, and I got, and all in your back of your mind say, I got them. And then you just go ahead and just spill out what your challenge was and how you overcame it.
Excellent. No, that's perfect. I have to remember that one myself.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, my weakness, because that's one of my weaknesses, that and ice cream. Okay. Yes, excellent. Well, let's talk a little bit about resumes. You are iRock Resumes, and you do rock resumes from what I can tell from all your testimonials.
Thank you.
What are, some of the biggest tips? Resumes, people I've heard, resumes don't work, or, you don't need a resume these days. I disagree with that. But, what are, most of the time I've been into interviews, they want to see a resume when you get there, whether they find you on LinkedIn or, some other site, they still want to see a resume. So what are some of the top tips for creating a resume?
For me, it will be the actual format. Now, I see a lot of those pretty template type formats that are going out, as far as a resume is concerned. Those are nice to hand someone. Mm-hmm. However, be very careful of all of the big circles and all this kind of stuff, because if you're uploading it into a system, a database, the information gets jumbled up and it really spits out something that is not even according to what they're looking for. So you want to have a very simple, streamlined type of resume, especially if you're applying online, uploading your resume to a database system. Okay. Now, if you're a creative person and you're going to be meeting with somebody face to face and you want to kind of fancy up because you want to, present something and show the creative side, you can do that and hand that to them. So I want people to make sure. A lot of people, I'm buying a template, I'm buying this, I'm just going to put my stuff in there. Then they wonder why they don't get any feedback or even response from that, because the system can't recognize all of that fanciness. They're looking for words, and if it's in a different format, it's just going to spit it right out and won't even get looked at about it, even past the database test to get to the hiring manager or the HR person who's reviewing those resumes. So that'll be my first tip. Think about your format and what is the reason that you're actually, who are you going to actually present your resume to? Next thing, objectives are dead, Tony. I'm just sorry. They're just dead. Okay. People, the objective is, well, we know that. You're applying for a job. We know what the objective is.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, so you want a job. So those are dead. But what you really want to do is have a summary of your professionalism. Mm-hmm. What makes you a professional in your role that you're seeking? So do a summary, highlighting your overall skills. If you were to encompass everything that you put in your resume in just a summary, that should be at the forefront, because they're going to read that. And if there's some buzzwords in there that's going to draw their attention, then they're going to go ahead and continue reading down. So you definitely want to have a great summary, summarizing everything that you have to bring to the table. Then you want to talk about, have a competency area. In the competency area, those are the things that you're very competent and you're very good at. And you can go online and just look up some competencies and say, yeah, I'm pretty organized. Yeah, I'm results driven. Yes, I'm this, I'm that. And then you want to kind of highlight those and put those in like a grid right under your professional summary, because that draws the reviewer's eye directly there to see some of the highlights of who you are. And if that still keeps their interest, then you go down and start talking about, your roles that you've had, and be very careful not to go and just list tasks. Well, like I said earlier, what results have you gotten from your task? some of those highlights. And that's why it's so critical to write down your successes throughout the year. And then you can pull directly from that. The beginning of the job, yes, it should be a summary so people understand what the role that you did first. Then underneath that, talk about your key responsibilities, your key achievements, your key results underneath that. And if you are in a role where you can quantify that with numbers and percentages, even better. Please make sure that you're able to articulate that. I'm over a budget of $500 million. Okay, that's nice, but what does that budget do? Do you save money at the end of the year? Are you over budget? Because if you're over budget, that's not really good. But if you're under budget, saving the company money, tell me, how did you do it? What was the result of this? What did you do to streamline processes? Those are some of the things that you need to think about when you're adding into your resume. And then at the end, if you have education, yes, definitely put your education under there. Now, if you've been out of school for a long while and it was back in 1986 that you got your degree, you don't necessarily have to put down 1986 that you got your degree. That will age your resume. You don't necessarily need to do that. And then if you graduated high school and you were a valedictorian and that was 30 years ago, it won't add value. So please don't even, do that. And if you've been in the workforce for a very long time, but you want to put down every job that you've had in your whole entire life, like me, I was the best cashier of the year at McDonald's in Chicago. Now, would that add value to what I'm doing today, Tony?
Right, exactly.
Probably not. So don't put that down there. Talk about some recent roles that you've done and some successes. Your resume do not have to have everything that you've done, all the jobs all the way down through the years. You want to highlight your most current roles and what you have done. Then think about those professional organizations that you're a part of, the volunteerism that you've done, any volunteering that you've done, any certifications that you have achieved, any trainings that you've done outside of your college education. If you don't even have a college degree, maybe you've had some certification training that you've done after high school. Those are also very valuable to show that, I'm a continuous learner and I know how to learn beyond the basic. Mm-hmm. So those are some of the tips I would, as far as walking down through a resume or how to organize it, those are my highest tips on what they need to do in order to produce an excellent resume. And then if all else fails, you still can't get your words together, get a person like me, an expert wordsmith. iRockResumes.com. Call me up. I'll be happy to help you.
Excellent. And that takes sometimes people that know what they're doing to do that. So, if you're not an expert at that, and it really does take crafting like that. So I would highly recommend getting an expert.
Because a lot of people just think if I just call my cousin or my auntie and then they can just do it because people say, I can do a resume for you. Yeah, it's about, they'll put it in a format of a resume, but do they know how to write a resume?
Right.
It's a big difference in putting some bullets in there as opposed to actually writing and actually articulating the skills and values and abilities and capabilities a person has to offer.
Excellent. Nickquolette, you've offered some great value to the audience today, and there's so much more that you can learn and do. Just talking about interviewing and resumes and career development are very important at this time of year and any time of year for that matter. So you've offered some great value to the listeners of Goal Getting Podcast, and I want to thank you on that. And they really need to be able to talk with you if they have some more questions and want to get more information and possibly talk to you about, some services, because you offer a lot of different services. Like on the resume, we don't have time to get into a lot more, but I also noticed that you have different tiers of resumes that you recommend. And that's something, that a lot of people don't think about. They think you can get a one-stop shop type resume, and it's really different. So I think they need to, talk with that. If you're looking for a career in a senior management role or executive role, you don't need to use the same resume that somebody else has, looking for a clerk role or an office type role.
Right,
so
exactly.
I saw that. So that's something most people don't think about. So I think they need to know how to get in touch with you if they have questions. What's the best way for them to talk with you?
Well, the best way to get to me is at iRock@iRockResumes.com. And then you can go to my website at iRockResumes.com as well. And if you click over on the blog and scroll down a little bit, you will notice that I have 3 classes coming up in January. One is going to be on resume writing tips, interview tips, and also career strategy, all iRock style. And that will give them a lot of great information, talking them through and giving them even more examples on what they need to do. So please go out there and take a look at that and sign up for it. It's going to be an awesome class. I'm teaching literally all day, beginning at 9 o'clock in the morning, all the way to the last class begins at 1 and will be done by 3. So I highly recommend they go out there and take a look at that to get their new year off to a great start.
Excellent. And I think, if you want to advance your career and, maybe, like I said, start your career, that's the best way to do it. So find out from an expert on what you need to do and how to do it, because I can't tell you enough. As a manager in the past and looking for work and, actually just recently changed careers completely and went through a large series of resumes. I had to interview like 8 people to get the role that I'm in now. Even at my own company, I stayed within my own company. But you have to be able to know what you're doing. And, I could have used some extra tips there myself on some of the interviews that I did. So get in touch with Nickquolette at her, iRock resumes. She's got some great information out there and she'll be able to help you. Now, Nickquolette, we've got our Q&A session here that we're going to ask some quick questions. I want to ask you, as I ask all my guests, because it's real important, we all have goals that we set, and a lot of times to stay inspired and stay motivated, we see quotes that we really like that keep us and just really inspire us. So what quote hangs on your wall?
You know what? This one I just came across, and it was one that I use for my team. It's, if you count all your assets, you always show a profit. And that quote is by Wilson Mitzer, Mizner. And when I look at that, I'm like, your assets is your skills, your capabilities, and your abilities. And when you own those within yourself, you will always show a profit. So never be intimidated by a job or a job interview. Own it, because you have value to offer to that company.
Excellent. Oh, that is so true. And I think, we go into interviews, we think we get all worried, but you own it and you have those skills that you want to be able to present to them. So, excellent. Great quote. Thank you so much, Nickquolette. Now, the next question is, habits are important. We have habits can be good or they can be bad, but we like to have good success habits. Do you have a habit that you use that, helps you become successful?
You know what? Yes, I do. Every single morning, I meditate on a Bible scripture. And if you've looked at a lot of my things, I always use the hashtag God is my CEO, hashtag Jesus is my director. So I make sure that I am centered and I am focused and putting my career and also my business and my love for anything resume writing and career development strategy in his hands. So that's what I do every single morning.
That's great. Yep. Morning rituals and morning activities to help you get centered and, just on track for the day are very important. I actually get up very early in the morning and started doing that so I could spend some time making sure that I did that. So it's very important. Now, next question. We all read books and we like to have a lot of, advice from different people. I just picked up a new book the other day or yesterday that I'm going to start reading. And what book do you have that you use to be, to help you with your success, your business, just life in general that you would recommend to somebody?
Well, outside of the Bible, this book that I really, really highly recommend everybody get, and it's called Crucial Conversations, Tools for Talking When Stakes Are High. When you are in a role, even when you're talking about career development strategy, having those crucial conversations with your management and your leader in order for them to see what you're bringing to the table so you can have career advancement is very, very key. And again, those stakes are very high when you're talking about elevating your career and elevating your income and elevating your life overall. You want to be able to have those crucial conversations. And this book gives you the tools to do that. And the authors for that is Joseph Graney, Carrie Patterson, and Ron McMillan. I mean, crucial conversations overall for anything that you have, but especially when it comes down to your career.
Excellent. That's a great book, Crucial Conversations. And listeners, I want to let you know that we are going to have all this information on our show notes page at goalgettingpodcast.com iRock, IROCK. And you'll be able to pick up the tips that Nickquolette has given us today. You'll be able to get links to her website and things that she's mentioned to contact her on the iRock Resumes show notes page. That's goalgettingpodcast.com/iRock. And also access to, go get these books on Amazon or on one of our other sponsors such as audible.com. So we're going to have those available for you on the show. So Nickquolette, great information today. I got one last question for you.
Yes, sir.
A lot of us get very good advice from people as we're starting our business or careers or, just life in general. What is some of the best advice that you've ever received?
Oh my gosh, some of the best advice that I have ever received is the fact that to eliminate the buts. There was a point where I would do this, but I would do that, but a very dear friend of mine and peer mentor told me, you need to eliminate the buts and just do it. So that has become my mantra, and that's what I live by, and I tell and coach people about that. And this was told to me, oh gosh, about 10 plus years ago. She would always say, eliminate the buts, Nickquolette. I'm like, okay.
I like that.
That has been the best thing. So eliminate the buts out of everything that you're trying to do and just go forward and do it. And you will be surprised. So when I did that, I began to excel even more in my career and have made accomplishments over and over because I eliminate the but.
Excellent. That's great advice for people. And I appreciate you sharing that was given to you and you've lived that. So excellent. Now I'm going to last question. No more questions. This time I want to get you to tell us something. We're all trying to achieve our goals here, whether it be career development, getting a job, anything in life at this time. What is the best advice that you can give to other people? What is some words of wisdom that you have for people to go out and achieve their goals?
Own what you bring to the table. Own your skills, own your capabilities, and do realize that you have what it takes to get to the next step in anything that you want to do.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nickquolette. That, again, is more value that you brought to the table because you always bring value. And I appreciate you being on our show today. I want to respect your time. I appreciate your coming on the show and this great information you're sharing. We hopefully will have you back again because I think you offer some excellent tips and strategies for people for careers. And we all want to improve our careers and make our life better. So that's very important.
Well, thank you so much, Tony, for having me. And I am sure blessed that I met you.
I am too. And, it's amazing, who you can meet. You just have to talk to people when you're out and about and network. So that's very important because you never know who you're going to meet. And like I said, it was a chance encounter at a conference, and we just happened to sit next to one another, and it's been great. So thank you so much for being on our show today.
Yeah, and I love what you do, and I'm a go-getter, and I support you.
You do. You're one of my biggest fans, and I appreciate that.
Indeed.
So
I
appreciate you very much. So
you're welcome,
I'm going to let you go from the show today, and I appreciate everything that you do and all the the friendship that we've gotten through this year, and hope to continue that.
Yes, thank you, Tony. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Hello, goal getters. I hope you enjoyed listening to Nickquolette as much as I enjoyed interviewing her. She's really a great friend of mine. As we talked about at the end of the show, she is a goal getter. She's a member of our goal getting Facebook group. We have a private Facebook group called Goal Getting Masters. Nickquolette has joined our group, and she is a goal getter for sure. She and others join Goal Getting Masters to be able to understand and learn how to master the goals that they set so that they can get those goals. And if you are a goal getter who wants to learn how to master the goals that you set, then you should probably join us too, because it is a private Facebook group and it's a place for us to meet other like-minded, goal-oriented people that will support you and help you get the goals you set. If you want to be a part of the Goal Getting Masters group like Nickquolette and I, go to goalgettingpodcast.com/masters. Sign up, and then I'll add you to the group, and you can come prepared to participate and share your goals with Nickquolette, myself, and the other Goal Getting Masters. We look forward to meeting you there and having a great day. So I really appreciate you listening to the show today. As I mentioned last week, we are going to end season 1 at the end of the year. We've got one more episode after this for this season. And in February 25th, we're going to start season 2 of Goal Getting Podcast. That will be our 1-year anniversary, and we will come back with a new season. I do appreciate you listening. If you've got some ideas of who you would like to hear interviewed on Goal Getting Podcast, email me at tony@goalgettingpodcast.com or leave a message on the show notes page at goalgettingpodcast.com/iRock, iRock, for this episode. Let me know what we can do to, make the show better for you. I've got some ideas for some things that I want to do, but I also want to know what you want. What would you like to hear? Do you want to hear interviews like we've been doing on our weekly show, Goal Getting Podcast? We've also got our Goal Getting Quote of the Day, where daily we've been putting out, quotes that I find inspirational, that help me stay motivated, things that mean a lot to me and what my thoughts are on those quotes. Is there anything else you would like? Would you like to still continue that? I will continue that during the winter break from, January 1st through February 25th. I will continue Goal Getting Quote of the Day on 4 days per week. I'll be doing Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday quotes of the day for those 4 days. And we will come back probably, depending on what you guys want to do for season 2 with that as well. But I do hope that you'll let me know what you want to get out of this. How can I help you with Goal Getting Masters? I'm looking at putting together an online course and also a free webinar, a free goals course webinar that I would love for you to attend. And I'll be working on that during the winter break, trying to get that put together so that when we start season 2, that will be one of the things that we can talk about. I would encourage you to go listen to episodes 34, 35, and 36, where we talk about, the subconscious mind. A lot of times we have those limiting beliefs that we have to overcome, and I want you to, know ways that you can overcome those, and how, using our mental bank program that we talk about in those episodes, how you can turn your subconscious mind into a goal-getting machine, and how you can have it play for your team. So come back, listen to us next week. I have a great guest out there for next week. Everybody's setting New Year's resolutions. The number one New Year's resolution is to lose weight. I've got a great guest next week. Amanda Barrett will be on the show. Come listen to her. She's a personal trainer. She's got some great fitness and health tips. We're going to be talking about that and, give you a personal challenge and, go from that. So, that'll be our last show of the season. So join us next week on Wednesday and listen to Amanda Barrett. And I do appreciate you listening this year. You've been a phenomenal audience, and we want to continue with season 2 of Goal Getting Podcast the way you want it, things that we can help you with. So please email me, tony@goalgettingpodcast.com, or on the show notes page, any of the show notes pages for that matter that we have out on Goal Getting Podcast. Just, when you're listening to one, go to the show notes page and give me some comments on what you would like to see in episode 2 starting in February. Thank you so much. Go out and make today a great day.